Hey YouTubers, how you doing? So, I'm thinking I'm not going to keep my Volvo that much longer. The car's got over 200,000 miles on it. But I'm not getting rid of it because of that. I'm getting rid of it probably because I just have too many cars to work on right now and I have to offload one. But before I get rid of it, I thought I'd like to upload a little bit of content on the car. One of which I've been wanting to do is about things that have failed on this car. Being such a high mileage car, I thought maybe some people online would be interested to see what goes wrong, especially if they're considering buying one in the used car market. So I've got myself a little list here, and we're going to go through a few things that are Volvo specific that have failed. And what I mean by that is we're not going to talk about brake pads or batteries, air filters. Yeah, those things fail, but they fail as maintenance items. They just need to be replaced over time. Let's actually start in the interior. One, the radio. This volume knob failed on the previous radio. This is a salvage unit. Thankfully, the volume knob fails. You do have one on the steering wheel. And while we're on the steering wheel, the horn no longer works. I'm not sure what's up with that. Sunroof does not open or close anymore. I put no effort into trying to figure that out. I just don't really care. As you can see, there's no driver's seatbelt right now. But the reason for that is because the seatbelt retractor locked up. I had to send it out to get rebuilt. The automatic climate controls still work great. No issues with that. But there was a problem with the AC, which I'll talk about when I'm outside the car. Keys on these cars are so fragile and they're very expensive. You can see this one's held together with tape and a whole bunch of glue. So what happens is you put it in the ignition, you turn it, and the thing just explodes. The instrument message center here, the instrument panel message center, that has become intermittent, which is pretty annoying. Alright, let's start going outside the car. All 4 brake hoses had a whole bunch of cracks in them. I say, even if they're holding fluid, I would replace those. It's a safety item. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about the headlights getting fogged up, because these are glass. Just awesome. Love that. This is the 2.5 liter inline 5 turbo engine with low pressure turbo. Turbo seals are starting to get a little bit worn out, and they're starting to pass some oil through the inlet tube here. It's not enough that it's smoking out the exhaust. It's not enough that it's dripping out of the intercooler or anything like that. This turbo inlet pipe here, which goes all the way down to the turbo, this cracked down there, and it was a nightmare to change. All right, something I'm bitter about is the power steering on this car. So this one in particular has the ZF speed dependent steering system, which utilizes a steering module and a solenoid on the rack and pinion. That system was not working when I got the car. Those systems are very hard to diagnose. I wish this car did not come with that, but since it had it, I fixed it. It's a huge pain in the butt. I will probably make a whole video dedicated just to that. What to watch out for is it feels like the power steering is working, but if you try to turn it quickly at low speed, it's very, very heavy. Thankfully, not all these cars have that. I think the Rs do, the S60Rs. This is not an R, but it is the premium model, so it came with that option. What else? Coil packs failed. Pretty much all of them failed. I ended up having to replace all of them. The rear main seal started to leak on this car. Not a big deal. No, it's not dripping under there, so it's not a problem. And I know what you Volvo guys are thinking. Hey, rear main seal's leaking. That means the PCV system has failed and it's popping out its seals. The PCV system on this car has not failed. I've checked it. I did the glove test, and I know that the PCV system is working correctly. There's part of it there and part of it there, and it is a whole big complex system on this car, especially because it's a turbo car. So it has an oil separator that's hiding under the intake manifold here. This car did have to have the AC compressor replaced, somewhere in the 150,000 mile plus range, and it was expensive. I know it was over $800 for the replacement. But since then, it's worked awesome. The catalytic converters are starting to get worn out, and I'm starting to get occasional check engine lights for that. to me is not worth fixing, but it's something to note. Oh yeah. While I was in there, I was thinking about it. That black wire there is for the O2 sensor. Those go out too, and they are hard to replace. Oh my gosh. The sensor itself is not that hard to get to, but the connector for the O2 sensor is buried back behind the engine. All right, let's see what else. I had to replace a whole bunch of motor mounts on this car. It's got a lot of motor mounts. It's got one on the back, one on the side, one on the top. It's here, there, they're all over the place. And so let's talk about what hasn't failed. Let's talk about what's doing great. The engine itself is actually in fantastic shape. It idles around all day long, it accelerates great, it cruises on the highway with no hesitations or misfires or anything like that, and this is definitely the original engine on here. It has had the timing belt replaced. That is very important on these cars. They are interference engines. The engine will eat itself alive if the timing belt breaks. I want to do a shout out to the trans too. This is a ASIN or ISIN or however you say it, 5-speed automatic transmission, and it has been rocking no problem. I have been pretty impressed also by the axles. These are the original axles on this car. They've got these old cracked boots on them, but they haven't failed. They're still going, and that's awesome. And the bearings, I think, are all original too. Not 100% sure about that, but the bearings have been great. And I mean, something I love personally, no wobble in the door hinges. Even though this door has been open and closed who knows how many times, that's fantastic. That has exhausted my list. So thanks for watching, and I hope this was informative.